Well, I think today we're back in George Kennan's world where so many are not unable to make sense of Russia's bewildering behavior, and also a lot of people are confused as to what the consequences are for other post-Soviet nations such as Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. We brought this conference together to discuss the future of U.S. relations with Russia and Central Asia in context of the new developed situation and the new developed security concerns and human rights concerns. Our conference has featured many distinguished speakers. Among them are Thomas Simons, a former United States ambassador to Poland and Pakistan, Sanjar Umarov, the chairman of Sunshine Coalition, the major opposition party in Uzbekistan, Sarah Kendzior, writer at Al Jazeera, and a very followed person on Twitter, someone many should follow and know about. We've also had Ruben Shugarian, former Armenian ambassador to the United States and also first deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Armenia. Our focus is becoming more and more clear as we're evolving. We are turning into an organization that is providing with an unbiased discussion of issues in the post-Soviet sphere. In his book, The Silence of the Rational Center, Stephen Halper, a former White House fellow, has written that today, instead of having an in-depth discussion on issues, we pay attention to short 40-second statements on TV, and experts who want to provide a real opinion are disregarded. What we are hoping to do is to bring these speakers for a day-long conference where our audience gets to learn issues in depth and have a discussion that lasts a few hours, where each speaker gets a real time to speak and then answer all the questions their audience has.
I'm interested in transitional justice, human security, and public international law. And my interests are wide-ranging, not necessarily in a region specific, for example, Central Asia. But it's the principles that you find in Central Asia that I find most interesting. For example, the potential for reforms, the human rights issues, the geopolitical nature, the tensions, if you will, between Russia, the United States, and for example, even nations such as China and Iran, the way they participate in the region. I find it all very interesting. I think the wonderful thing about studying here in Boston is that we have this great network of schools. For example, the FLETCHER School, I'm allowed to cross-register at Harvard, and Harvard students cross-register into FLETCHER. So for the conference, we were actually able to draw students from Boston University, from Harvard, from the FLETCHER School, from other institutions, think tanks. Even though we're not in an international city, for example, like New York City or Washington, D.C., there really is a lot of interest because there are people that we can pull from so many different fields and backgrounds. And we had certainly a lot more interest than I thought. Students that have studied Kazakh as a language, Farsi, students who've studied in Tajikistan and other parts of the region. I was really happy that we could find a niche and fit this conference to that niche so that people could really get involved in the things that they were interested in, because a conference like this is very unique.
Well, let me show you. Let me show you. It was given to me by a Kyrgyz student of mine. Since independence, we have really pretty consistently supported the independence and the viability of these new states. And of course, Russia has been the problem there. I think that's sort of shifting over time. Since 9/11, it's been a policy that really has been very much driven by the needs of fighting the war in Afghanistan. I think that maybe warps it a little bit. Now that we're drawing down in Afghanistan, and that you have shale oil, shale gas, and shale oil coming on stream, so that Central Asian energy resources are going to be less important. I think we're going to have to find new reasons to engage with Central Asia. I think we're going to find them, but I think it's going to take some work and some political leadership. My sense, looking at Washington from Cambridge, is that our leadership recognizes the need to work, both to find new reasons to be there and to deliver the kind of resources that are going to be required. I'm not pessimistic, but it's going to be a hard job, and it's going to be a challenge for the Central Asian countries too. There are many more people here who care about Eurasia, who were engaged in the Cold War as academics, and so they continue to be interested in this very important part of the former Soviet Union, which is becoming a set of 5 countries in their own right. I mean, it's no longer, they had a tremendous post-Soviet inheritance in governance, in economics, but I think they're becoming real countries now. There's been a lot of state building. I think we're more confident, the US government is more confident, people around here are more aware of their capacity to maintain their independence and viability.
Well, I think it's unlikely that there's going to be any kind of military action or annexation by Russia in Central Asia. If it were to happen somewhere, it would be Kazakhstan, but even then I don't think that that's very likely. I think the real issue to look out for is the remittance economy, the dependence on migrant labor in Russia, especially in Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and to some extent Uzbekistan, because if something happens to the Russian economy, it's going to severely impact those migrant workers, and then in turn, if they don't have work, and there's a large number of unemployed men in those 3 countries, that I think there's the potential for unrest. Well, I'm hoping that, especially in light of this crisis, people realize that they can't really afford to cut the funding to this part of the region. They can't wait for a crisis to emerge and then fund it. You need to have people exchanging ideas and, interacting with each other. I guess in the absence of that, the internet and social media are a cheaper and easier way to go about doing that. But I really think that the government should reinstitute Title VIII, and all countries should go back to the educational exchanges that they used to have that I think were beneficial for both sides.